Oh, hashtag, we tried to tell you. Donald Trump kept lying that, nothing at Project 2025. He knew nothing about it, didn't want to read it, had no impact on his campaign, yet it's amazing how he keeps hiring people who are all tied to Project 2025. We're seeing this in his cabinet picks. We're seeing this in their policies. And the reality is they are going to implement that 900 plus page leadership guide. We were clear. Journalist and author Ahmed Baba, who wrote what Trump's cabinet and staff picks tell us about his second term priorities, joins us now from Brooklyn. Glad to have you here on the show, Ahmed. Look, it's real clear. They were lying the entire time. And these idiots in the media fell for it. Well, Trump said that wasn't the case. And we're like, Trump lies about lies. So we all knew he was lying. And so he names Brendan Carr to be chair of the Federal Communications Commission. Who is Brendan Carr? He only wrote the section of Project 2025 dealing with the FCC. Okay, we can go down the line. All of these people who he's picking all have tied. His press secretary. Oh no, nothing to Project 2025. She's in their videos, and so it was all a lie, and we knew it. And guess what? A bunch of folks in this country fell for the okie doke, and they effed around, and they're about to find out.
Yeah, they're about to get a really extremist agenda. I mean, we've been calling this out for months. I've been on this for over a year now. And essentially, as we could see the whole time, Project 2025 directly aligned with Donald Trump's agenda. We saw this in the beginning. CBS did an analysis that found 270 proposals directly match Agenda 47. We saw many of his former appointees and administration officials crafted it. Brendan Carr, now literal direct author of the FCC chapter. And he actually got in a Twitter beef with me after I called out his ties. He responded by saying, "I'm so sorry this happened to you." So as we can see, internet trolls.
I'm sorry, you're breaking it up right there. He said what to you?
He slid in my replies at 2 a.m. and said, "I'm sorry that happened to you," in response to me calling out his Project 25 ties. It didn't really make any sense. So essentially, we have affirmative action for grifters in Trump's cabinet here. We have internet trolls who are sitting here in my replies and other people's replies, the incoming FCC chair, who has promised and indicated that he would target the broadcast licenses of networks that Trump disagrees with. He spoke about NBC. Today, he was on Fox News talking about CBS. So we have not just Brendan Carr, but we have Matt Gaetz, who would implement retribution. Project 2025 calls for, this is something for your black audience, for us black folk to care about, turning the Civil Rights Division on its head to target and essentially take universities or people who are trying to boost diversity, accuse them of discrimination, right? So there's all of these avenues that these cabinets indicate Project 2025 plan will be implemented successfully. And not only that, as we personnel policy, that's how the saying goes. Donald Trump has successfully won, unfortunately, and I think Americans are about to be really shocked by the extremist agenda that he implements. I think a lot of people, if they really did vote for inflation, they're not going to get price cuts here. They're going to get a really extremist agenda, mass deportations, Project 2025 agenda that we all said was his. Obviously, it's not directly his, but Agenda 47 echoed the bulk of it. And we're about to get this full force rolling.
Well, first and foremost, I laugh at these fools in the case. And Brendan Carr knows better when he's talking about, we're going to go after CBS, let's say go after NBC because they had Vice President Kamala Harris on Saturday Night Live. First of all, go to my iPad. These are the CBS owned and operated stations. For all of y'all out there who don't understand how the FCC works, the FCC only has jurisdiction over stations with broadcast licenses. Let me be clear. CBS has affiliates. These are the only owned and operated stations of CBS. That's it, y'all. The rest of the stations that are CBS affiliates, those are locally owned or they have independent owners. So the only licenses they can go after are these stations. And you gotta have a little bit more than, oh, Vice President Kamala Harris went on Saturday Night Live. So here's the other thing, and I meant to tweet this to Brendan, and I'm gonna tweet it to him. I'm very interested. So Brendan Carr is saying that SNL did not give equal time to Donald Trump because they brought on Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, is Brendan Carr, and this is where progressives need to be a lot more, to me, guerrilla-minded. Salem Broadcasting. Those are radio stations with licenses. How many times did Donald Trump appear on the radio shows of Hugh Hewitt and others? And why didn't those stations give Vice President Kamala Harris equal time? See, Brendan, if y'all want to play this game, we can play this game. We can go after Sinclair Television and their content as well, because those are FCC licenses. Now, if they want to play that game,
on that.
Sure. Now, again, because he's basing the SNL thing on equal time, okay, we can do the equal time conversation. Let's go.
Yeah, and the thing about Sinclair Broadcasting, they see Brendan Carr as a facilitator to this. You're calling out the hypocrisy perfectly. And unfortunately, at this point, they don't care, right? They don't really, there's no ideological consistency. It's just getting their way. So one of the things he's going to potentially do is roll back more regulations that was preventing Sinclair from having more of a monopoly on local stations. So we could see more disinformation proliferated at the local level. And you know, when it comes to CBS and these other networks, although, like, for example, MSNBC doesn't have a license, but their parent company does run some local broadcasting stations, right? So what we could see is it used more as a threat to kind of push people to toe the line. We've seen a little bit of that in recent days, people trying to curry favor with Trump, trying to change their messaging. So we're seeing the threat be enough to change the tone and tenor of some coverage. So that's what we're seeing on the FCC side. And these other cabinet picks, it's just so absurd. I mean, we had Steve Bannon, we have Matt Walsh, we have people who were openly saying right after he won that Project 2025 along, and it vindicated people like me and you, Roland, who have been out here warning about this for a really long time. And although some of this will get tied up in the courts, and you know, there's various things that he might not be able to do on day one, like, for example, Biden is rolled back or actually implemented a rule to make it harder for Trump to essentially target civil servants. But again, he has executive power. He can roll that back. So we're just going to have to see. The guardrails are going to be tested here once again. I mean, the courts are filled with conservative justices, so it really depends on what court where these various things are going to be presented to, and ultimately whether Chief Justice Roberts is really going to let this tilt into full-blown authoritarianism. But, you know, we're not there yet. It's just going to be one of these things that happens a day at a time, and we just have to stay vigilant and call out these plans and people like Brendan Carr and Matt Gaetz who are appointed.
Well, and look, then the reality is, look, folks, okay, they voted for it, and they're going to get it. And so the 70 million people out there who they're about to whack when it comes to food stamps, when it comes to subsidies, the people out there who are going to get whacked, who are going to get deported, all of these different people. And so, and like I saw one story of a guy was like, oh, yeah, I know I might get deported, but I still love Trump. Okay, love his ass back at home. These folks, see, I love all these people. It reminded me of, again, 2016, when people were like, oh, I voted for Trump, but I hope I don't lose my Affordable Care Act. Well, dumbass, that's who you voted for. So, and I'm telling you right now, okay, if Trump and the Republicans try to come in here and get rid of the Affordable Care Act, it's going to be a bunch of crying white people, a bunch of crying broke white people in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Arkansas, especially white men whose lives were changed because of the Affordable Care Act. But y'all want to play games? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what we're going to see here is overreach, right? Trump thinks he has a mandate on his extremist agenda, but as we see, Roland, me and you, we know all these plans, but the average American, a lot of them are tuned out. They don't know the exact details of what Donald Trump is about to pursue. They think, tough guy, economy, lower prices. That's maybe what they thought when they went in the voting booth. But tariffs and a lot of these policies are going to hit, like you said, some of these vulnerable people in red states that Trump considers his base. And by then it's too late. We've elected the guy. And I think one of the silver linings, which is unfortunate because a lot of people are going to get really hurt by this, especially migrants. And I think as Trump overreaches, I mean, we look today, Mike Johnson and their new they're thinking about putting a rule in to prevent the new transgender member of Congress from using, a woman's bathroom. They're focused on these extremist issues that is going to backfire, right? Like Trump can't cancel the midterms as much as we've called him an authoritarian, but he's still in the wannabe stage, right? It takes time. It takes chipping away. With this extremist agenda being implemented, I suspect it's going to backfire heavily. Like I really think when people start to struggle because he went all in on his agenda when he thought that he was just he really is misinterpreting this as a broad mandate of all of MAGA extremism. And I think this could cost them the midterms. And then hopefully we have that legislative check. And then going into 2028, we can have some kind of figure in here because he can't run again. I mean, he might try, but constitutionally, I'm not on the whole Trump third term vibe. I really think that this is going to be a hard 4 years. And if everybody locks in, we all are staying committed to spreading people, I think we can really pull us back from the brink. Maybe I'm just being optimistic. I don't know where you stand on it.
All right, then. Well, we shall certainly see. And again, I keep telling y'all, for all these people who voted for him, all I'm going to play for the next 4 years is Scarface's No Tears. I don't want to hear whining or crying because this is what you chose to do. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me, Roland.
Folks, on my panel, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA. Joining us from D.C., Dr. Larry Walker, assistant professor at University of Central Florida. Out of Orlando, Benjamin Dixon, pastor, political commentator out of Atlanta. Glad to have all three of you here. I'm being very serious, Larry. All I'm going to do is play No Tears. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any whining, complaining, crying. Someone was saying that the number of searches on Google, can I change my vote? I'm sorry. You had 8 years. You saw what happened in matter of fact, you go back further. Okay, you go 2015, 9 years. You go 2011. They knew exactly who this man was. They decided, they willingly accepted evil. Now they're going to have to accept it. Now they got to accept that Dr. Oz being over Medicare, Medicaid, okay, even though he paid a massive ICE fine, okay? Matt Gaetz sleeping with 17-year-olds, the women testifying that they actually saw that happen. Please, don't look, I'm telling you, I'm going to get a shirt that says, don't blame me, I voted for the black woman.
That's real talk, Roland. And so the next 4 years are going to be like if a farmer decided he was going to let a fox inside the hen house and then close the door and say he's not responsible. What happens to the hens? So that's essentially what our next 4 years are going to look like. And so, Roland, you're right. Black folks in particular have consistently, not just the last 4 years, so the last 8+ years, warned about what Donald Trump his first administration, now the second administration will look like. So you talked about the Affordable Care Act. We saw the attacks against the Department of Education and all the other damage that could be done to Homeland Security, state, in terms of international issues. We could go on and on. And listen, Roland, I worked on the Hill, and essentially what the Republicans have done is in the second Donald Trump term, is every single thing they had ever hoped to do when it comes to dismantling the federal government as a state is exactly what's going to happen. Going after federal workers in terms of how, the post office, all these other things that people take for granted. And, in terms of Americans don't know what it's like to live without. are going to find out what it's like to live out with these essential services. And so you talked about the Affordable Care Act, Roland, and how, some folks don't understand that the Affordable Care Act is Obamacare. And so why they say they don't like Obamacare, they have the Affordable Care Act. And so why this, it seems silly that people don't understand those differences. They fell for the banana in the tailpipe. And you're right. There are millions of people who are going to lose their health insurance. Parents who have their, were able to keep their kids on their insurance until 26. Let's not talk about pre-existing conditions in terms of individuals we all love about who have had previous health challenges. Their ability to get new insurance or keep their insurance will be made virtually impossible. And then once again, this is the dismantling of the federal government as a state, and we will all pay for it.
I really, Mustafa, it was really difficult, yes, but for a lot of these people, I really don't want to hear a lot. I don't. It's not like, again, it's not like they didn't know. It's not like they didn't know the kind of things that he said. They didn't know about his behavior. All of these things were there. They were covered. It was public. It was all there. They simply said, oh no, eggs are too high, even though eggs went down. Gas is too high, even though gas went down. Oh, the economy is awful. Okay, they said, we're going to ignore how he responded to COVID because we're going to only focus on those 2 other great years. Okay, good luck.
Yeah. I was thinking about this earlier, and it's amazing. I don't think most folks get that they're literally going to be paying for incompetence and extremism. So they're going to use your tax dollars to actually implement many of these things that are going to put your life in a much more difficult position. For some folks, it will shorten your life. For others, it will take your life. And, there's a responsibility normally for individuals who take these types of positions. One, you're supposed to be one of the best. If you're going to lead, whether it is HUD or EPA or HHS or a number of different places. The other part is that you are supposed to care about the community and you're supposed to take civil servants seriously in this space. But now you're going to have folks who, whether you believe in wanting to have clean air or clean water, that is going to become much more difficult. When we look at, as Brother Larry just talked about, around healthcare, for those of us who have been fighting for criminal justice reform, we now know that that's going to be much more difficult. For voting rights, all these different types of things, you are literally paying for these things to be dismantled and deconstructed. So I hope you get what you had hoped for, because, now you're paying for it in so many different ways, in both your health and the future of your children, and in relationship to your positioning inside of this society.
Ben.
One of my concerns, Roland, is the power of MAGA, the misinformation machine, to turn the minds of these people. I've seen people in person who literally embrace the destruction. They embraced the destruction of COVID. One guy came and said that he felt it was his patriotic duty to get sick with COVID, right? And the ability to manipulate the minds of the masses at that level really suggests to me that even after they go through the stage of destruction, they'll still be turning back to Donald Trump, thanking him for punishing them and thanking them for destroying their lives. And so it's a really sickening deception that is over this entire country that honestly, we have to be delivered from, because it's going to impact us as much as I want to poke in the eyes of other people. And I'm doing my best. I want that T-shirt that you're going to get. Don't blame me. I voted for the black woman, right? I want that T-shirt, but I do know that when they start rolling back water regulations, that it's going to impact our water supply. When they affect the EPA, it's going to affect everyone's air that we breathe. So it's really going to have a deleterious effect on every single one of us. But there's going to be a subset of folks who turn around and thank their dear leader, Donald Trump, for making their life miserable.
Oh, absolutely. And again, had a whole campaign, and folks chose to do differently. So any of those people who go, oh my God, I regret my vote, we tried to tell you.
Hi, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Fanbase is a free to download, free to use, next generation social media platform that allows anyone to have followers and subscribers on the same page. Fanbase was built through investment dollars from equity crowdfunding from the Jobs Act. People just like you help build Fanbase. And we're looking for more people to help build Fanbase. We are currently raising $17 million in a Regulation A crowdfund on Start Engine. We've already crossed $2.1 million, but we're looking to raise more capital from people just like you that deserve the opportunity to invest in early stage startups without having to be accredited investors. So right now, I'd like you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase right now, today. And then use Fanbase to connect with friends, grow your audience, and be you without limits.